2024, of course, has had some great movies like The Wild Robot, Transformers 1, and Bad Boys Ride or Die. Now, of course, there are a lot of movies, a little too much to keep up with. So I'll be reviewing some movies that, whether it came out on streaming on a different platform or just wasn't that popular and I got a chance to revisit it. Now, of course, the movies I have chosen are six, that being Thelma, Argyle, Oddity, Inside Out 2, The Killer's Game, and Greedy People. Quite a big collection. Now, of course, before we get into the spoiler, of course, the ones I would actually recommend is Greedy People, which is a surprise, and of course Inside Out 2. But since Inside Out 2 has gotten quite a bit of money, much rather you watch Greedy People, right? But the other ones have been quite surprising. Now, of course, like I said, Thelma, I gave it a 7 out of 10. Is not close here. 3.8 out of 5 by Letterboxd, 7 out of 10 by IMDb, and Rotten Tomatoes is the one that seems to be the outsider. 98% on critics and 83% for people, which is, it makes sense. This movie is a very charming movie. Now, of course, the movie revolves around, well, Thelma, the old woman who gets scammed out of quite a bit of money, as of course the scammers use AI to replicate her grandson's voice, claiming he was in a car accident and taking quite a bit of money. Now, of course, it does say that she goes on her own Mission Impossible type style as she goes to retrieve the money that she was, scammed of. But of course, there also is an underlying theme, that being Thelma does not want to accept the fact that she has grown old, and as she says that later on, I guess you could say she's projecting that she is a burden on her family. Now, of course, the main reason is once she got scammed, they were talking about, oh, she might need to start living with us now because she used to live on her own. Ever since the accident, well, not accident, right? But ever since her husband died, her mental health has been deteriorating quite a bit. Now, of course, she tries to prove them wrong by trying to go get the money, and no one really listens to her because who would? She's an old woman. But she does recruit an old friend. Well, I don't want to say old friend, but they have talked a bit in the past, that being Ben, and he's a pretty good character. He's pretty cool. And they do manage to get the money, right? But that's not the main point. The main point is that Thelma finally realizes that she is old. She's not getting any younger, and it would be for the best to live with her family. Now, of course, there are quite a bit of things I like the family dynamic. I like the grandma, Thelma, and her grandson. I like them. They're pretty funny. They have each other's back. It's very sweet and emotional. I also like the comedy. There are certain parts where it's alright, misses, but when it hits, it's pretty good. Especially because, of course, Thelma finds out where the people are holding the money, so she attempts to recruit some of her old friends, only to realize that half of them or all of them have died or moved. So it was a little bit funny because, you expect, oh, look at all these old people, they're going to finally whoop some ass. Oh, no, most of them are dead. Damn. But of course, the whole thing is that sometimes the comedy is a little bit, I would say, too far in between, right? There's a lot of dead space. I feel like there's a lot of stuff you could cut out, but at the end of the day, still a pretty good movie. 7 out of 10. I like it. 83%, I can see that. 98%, not so much. But of course, another, I guess, con, it's a nitpick at this point. The son is a little bit weird. He's supposed to be like this stoner loser guy that hasn't gotten his life together or something like that. So, they try to play with that emotionally. Sometimes it works. Most of the time it doesn't. But one of the things I do like the most about Thelma is a little scene where she also goes to another old friend who has access to a gun, right? They go try to steal it, but her house is roach infested. Now, of course, what is the point of that? Well, they ask her, why are there so many roaches? And it says, well, at this old age, you have to pick and choose your battles. Basically saying, oh, she's old. She doesn't have the energy to kill any roaches. And at the end of the movie, Thelma accepts the fact that she's old, except she still kills the cockroach she sees, She still has a little bit of spunk left in her. But besides that, it's a very emotional movie, especially with the conflict between Thelma and Ben. It is something worth watching, something worth checking out. And actually, it's not obviously not action-packed because it's old women and old men. But there are some things you think, damn, it's pretty good. But for the most part, it is a very nice movie. Not 98%, but it is a pretty good movie. But of course, the second movie, that being Argyle, which is another surprise because I gave it another 7 out of 10. I get it. It's a little bit like an easy score to choose. Like, oh, 7 out of 10, 7 out of 10. You know, that's why a lot of times when people go ask people to rate things, they say, rate it, but not 7 out of 10. This is a 7 out of 10. It is pretty good, but there's also quite a bit of bad things. But anyways, Argyle is essentially an action movie where you have this writer, Ellie Conway, who writes these novels about spies and government corruption or whatever. But for some reason, it seems that the things are coming true. And why is that? Well, it doesn't really matter because one of the spies that comes from the books comes and kidnaps her. Well, not really kidnaps her, but saves her. And she gets chased around by, well, the government agency that she supposedly was writing about. Now, of course, there's a lot of twists and turns in the movie, quite a bit, as you think that this guy is Agent Argyle because, you know, he's a man and whatever, right? So we essentially go like that. So what's the first twist? Well, simple. The things are real and they're after her. So obviously that's twist number one. Twist number two is that it seems like this new spy guy is supposedly evil, as he says, oh man, I hate her, she's so annoying, I want to blow her brains out, which is just like, okay, it's a bit rude, but makes sense. I guess she does get a bit annoying, but at the same time, she's also a writer getting thrown into the world of guns and violence. Yeah, probably not the best. But of course, another twist is that it turns out that Ellie Conway's parents are actually evil. That's right, they are the evil guys in the book. And the biggest plot twist of them all is that Agent Argyle is actually Ellie Conway. Now, of course, Ellie Conway is not her real name. Her real name is Agent Argyle. That's right, Argyle. And that's the whole thing. So, essentially, the way that it goes is that the evil guys kidnapped her after a botched mission, after some things go wrong. They brainwash her into writing the books, which is her actual memoirs, as it recounts her actual stories. And eventually their main goal is, eventually she's going to write the secrets that we need to take over the world, as they have this little chip that has all the information that basically will put everyone in jail. And supposedly they're hoping that she would write that part in the book. And it's like, we just need to wait and then it'll happen. Oh, no. And then the day is saved. But what I like about it is the way it transitions from fictional to not fictional. Of course, you do have the main guy, Aiden, who switches to Argyle, Agent Argyle from the books, and I like it. It's really cool. Now, of course, you have John Cena and Henry Cavill, who are heavily promoted in the trailers. Yeah, they're not really in the movie. They're fictional characters, obviously, so they appear every once in a while, a little too once in a while. Another con is the CGI is a little bit funky, a little bit, just a little bit. It looks a little weird. You think, all right, that's not supposed to look like that. But besides that, it has great action. It is pretty funny from time to time. Not obviously, it's not a comedy movie, but it is a comedy movie, but it is funny. And I like the cat. The cat's dumb. It's funny. It appears. But besides that, it is a nice spy action comedy movie. Of course, 33% is a bit too low, as Rotten Tomatoes has it. But the people have it 71%, which is much more realistic. Of course, IMDb has it 5.6 and Letterboxd has 2.3. A little bit too low, but we'll just let it slide, right? Critics, they don't like action comedies from time to time. But they did Bad Boys Ride or Die. Whatever. Now, of course, the other one, which is another surprise, which is Oddity. A very somewhat short film. It is 1 hour and 38 minutes. We'll talk about that later, as it is very important. Now, of course, what do the reviews have it? It has 6.7 on IMDb. Letterboxd has a 3.4 out of 5. And Google users have 82% like the movie. Pretty nice. Of course, Rotten Tomatoes, 96% on critics. 77 by people. It is pretty high. What did I rate it? I rated it 6 out of 10. Why? Well, let's just run through the essential plot. Of course, it revolves around Darcy, aka the witch, and her sister, who's finally got married and are trying to move in. She ends up getting murdered, and of course, since she's a witch, she channels dark magic to attempt to kill the people that wronged her, right? By killing her sister. Now, of course, this one also has quite a bit of twists and turns, and also it is a horror movie. We'll talk about that later, as it's quite important and quite a big reason why I put it 6 out of 10. Not too much, but it makes sense. So, of course, the main thing is that in the beginning of the movie, a crazy lunatic is running and trying to warn Darcy's sister, "Hey, someone's in the house. They're going to kill you, man. You're going to have to let me in." Now, of course, Darcy's sister, she is smart. Well, actually, it doesn't show it, but it shows her that she's about to open the door, right? And let the crazy person in. And then it cuts to black, and then she ends up dead. Obviously, trying to insinuate that she was killed by the lunatic, right? And it makes sense because in the next scene, Darcy uses this evil mummy looking guy, which looks pretty cool. I'll tell you that. It looks pretty cool. And also later on in the movie, you find out it's filled with teeth, hair, and blood. So yeah, that's his own thing. A little weird, but whatever. And that little monster kills the lunatic, right? Because we assumed it was the lunatic. Now, of course, another thing is as the movie progresses and as Darcy tries to get closer and closer with her sister's husband, not in that type of way, but in a way that she believes that she might have gotten the wrong guy. That's right, the lunatic may have not been the one that killed her sister. And it makes sense. She keeps pressing her, especially this one woman, because it turns out, like, I think within a year he remarries, obviously a little fishy, that being Yana, and he starts pressing her, saying that she was a mistress, obviously, as he believes, or she believes, that the husband, Ted, was cheating on her sister with Yana. And it turns out to be true. But that's besides the point, as there's another character called Ivan. Was he there for it? Oh, well, simple. He was ordered. Oh, by the way, here's where the big plot twist comes in. Ted essentially tells Ivan, "Hey, I really want to marry Yana, but I don't want to break up with, Darcy's sister." You may be saying, why am I saying Darcy's sister? They don't give her a name. Yes, she only appears in like the first 5 minutes and she gets killed off. So we don't really get to get her name. But he basically says, "I want to marry Yana, but I don't want to break her heart." So he decides to kill her. What? That makes no sense, but whatever. But then again, they also work at a insane asylum, and that's how the loony guy essentially escaped. So obviously, they also try to throw away another one by saying, "Oh, the loony guy, he was released early for no reason. Oh, that's why, right?" And of course, that was Ivan and Ted's doing, as they work there and they have high authority. So Ivan, it turns out actually Ivan was the one that gave out the hit, killed Darcy's sister, and it was ordered by Ted. And of course, she figured that out. Why? Because she could talk to the dead and also read people's minds. And if she has the item of a deceased person, that she can figure out the person's final thoughts, opinions, and all that stuff. And how does she find out that it was Ted and Ivan? Well, simple, because the loony guy has a fake eye. And of course, since it was near to him, like literally in him, she basically uses that to figure out, oh, they basically killed my sister. So ends up killing all these guys. And yeah, that's about it. Essentially the whole plot of the movie. Very creepy. One of the pros is it is disturbing. It is very disturbing. And there are some scares, very nice scares actually, especially near the end. But that's about it. There's too much empty space, which is weird because it's an hour and 38 minutes. You wouldn't expect it to be empty space, right? But it is very nasty, very gruesome. But they heavily rely on the eerie atmosphere to try to get you, I guess scared or whatever. But they do it for too long. It kind of loses its ability to, make you scared. Because it's like, okay, I've been waiting for like 10 minutes and nothing really happened. But I get it. It's more like the whole, she's slowly figuring it out. And other people are realizing that. And they're like, oh, okay, now we're going to die. It's over for us. We're done. Right? But I do like the story. It is a very nice story. Oh, even though I was kind of making fun of the atmosphere, it is great for the most part. A little too long. But if there's one way to describe it, I believe this would have been an amazing short film than an actual feature-length film. But then again, I am unfortunately part of the minority, as Rotten Tomato has it 96, which I personally do not believe that is even remotely close to what it should be. But then again, opinions are opinions. My opinions are different from theirs, so it doesn't really matter. But now the cons. The cons are very important. The acting, you could tell that they weren't the best actors. Once again, not their fault. Budgets and all that stuff. Obviously, you can't get the best actors. They tried their best. Especially the loony guy. I like the loony guy. The loony guy definitely was the better actor. Unfortunately, he got killed off like really quick, so we don't really get to see him. Oh, by the way, unfortunately, I forgot to say, the loony guy, you know, the guy that was trying to get into the house saying that someone broke in? Oh, yeah, he was right. He was right. It was Ted. It was Ivan. He broke in, and the loony guy was trying to protect her because he overheard their little thing like, oh, man, you got to kill her so I can marry this other woman. He heard it, so then he left, tried to protect her. He ended up getting killed for that. So, you know, if that's a moral of the story, do not help people. But anyways, the start is great, but the middle is very slow. And it's like very, very slow. I don't, you would get it if you were to watch it. There's a lot of just eeriness. It's, like I said, they're trying to make the atmosphere be the only thing. You need more than that. But besides that, it has a great story. You know, I like this. Of course, you don't actually get to see any of the kills on screen. But besides that, I do like the costumes that they have for, like, obviously, the little wood guy and the mask that Ivan wears. But at the end of the day, I believe it was a little subpar, if that makes any sense. Although the other one, like Thelma, I could get why people like this so much. I don't get this one. I need more people to tell me why. 96, that's quite a lot. It is a lot. But besides that, we get another one. Dave Bautista stars in the action comedy The Killer's Game. Now, of course, I feel like this one flew under a lot of people's radar, and it makes sense. Because I think it was going up against Transformers 1 and The Wild Robot, so it was doomed to fail. I don't know how much it made in the box office, but probably not a lot. But even the people who did watch it, mixed reactions. 5.7 on IMDb, 42% on Rotten Tomatoes, 80% on Fandango, and 81% of Google users liked the movie. Like I said, it's all over the place. Now, of course, Rotten Tomatoes, of course, there's two. Critics have it 42. The people have it 80%. What do I have it as? I have it as a 6 out of 10. So in the middle. You know, most people had it 4 out of 10. I have it 6 out of 10. The people had it 8 out of 10. Very much in the middle. But anyways, the plot of the movie is Dave Bautista, obviously, is, as they say, arguably, or his character's name, Joe Flood, is arguably the best hitman in Europe. Now, of course, his hitman, oh, he's the good guy. He kills evil people. So we have to root for him, right? But at the end of the day, years on the job, he has been diagnosed with a terminal illness while dating this one girl named Maisie. So instead of telling her, oh man, I'm dying or whatever, or I'm a hitman, which makes sense. I don't know why he would tell her that. But for the whole terminal illness, he's just like, I'm just going to leave her. Okay. I mean, I guess you could do that. I mean, that's an option. I guess it makes sense. But the thing is, the way he goes out is because he put a life insurance on himself, right? And they do say in the movie, oh, you can't kill yourself because you can't get the life insurance. So he says, oh, I'm just going to order a hit on myself, which is like, that could also be a thing, I guess. I mean, it's whatever. But then it goes wrong because he asks his boss, or at least his former boss, Agent Zeev Reeves, I'm just going to call him Reeves. He basically said, why the hell would I do that? And it makes sense, because you know what he says? He says, wait, you only went to one doctor, right? Even though they did say that they tested it in 3 different labs, he said, let's go to all the doctors, and we'll make sure that the diagnosis has been confirmed, right? And no, Joe Flood says, nah, I'm just going to go kill myself. It's like, what? The dude's saying go to other doctors, and he just says no. And guess what? You probably tell from, you know, the whole synopsis or whatever the hell. Yeah, they got it wrong. They mixed up the tubes and all that stuff. And he ended up getting diagnosed with a terminal illness, even though he doesn't have one. It's all could have been prevented if he just waited. If he just went to another doctor, it would have been like, hey, you know, we tested the blood. I don't see any terminal illness. I think they might need a check on that, right? No, he instantly went, I'm going to put a hit on myself. It's just like, that makes no sense. Whatever, right? But besides that, the way it works is that since his old boss technically didn't want to give him the hit, which makes sense. You know, he was the only sensible guy in the movie. He asked his arch nemesis, Mariana, who they're not on good terms. Why? Because Joe Flood killed her father. Because he broke the rules of the game because he used mercenaries or whatever, right? And of course, since she doesn't like him, she actually put the hit on. But once Dave Bautista or Joe Flood tries to call off the hit because they're going after his ex or whatever, but she said, no, I want you dead, so I'm just going to hire every assassin, right? Of course, he fights them all off. They live happily ever after, and he's actually out of the game. That makes sense, right? Why is that 6 out of 10? Because of Dave Bautista. He's the main character. He's arguably the worst part of the movie. Unfortunately, it sucks, but he's the worst part of the movie. The fight scenes that he's in, which makes no sense. He's a WWE superstar. He should know how to, be a fighter, I guess. Well, not an actual fighter, but like pretend fighting. But he's so stiff and rigid. It's like you're playing with a cheap action figure. He sucks. But you know what makes even less sense is that there's another WWE superstar, Drew McIntyre, who's in the game, who's way better at the fight scenes than he is. I get it. Dave Bautista isn't young anymore. He's not, he's not a young lion. He's old. He got gray hair, but like still, you're so stiff. But besides that, that's the one con. Everything, which makes no sense because like, why is it a 6 out of 10? Because he's the main character. If the main character sucks, it brings the whole movie down. But everyone else is good, especially the other assassins. It's pretty funny. They give them a lot of character, I guess. They give them a lot of, life. Especially Botas. That dude's the Spanish guy who kills people with his boots and he listens to music while he's doing it. That dude's good. I mean, you also have Drew McIntyre and his brother. Of course, you got the biker gang and all that other stuff. They have a lot more life and a better fight scenes than Joe Flood, even though he's the main character. Not only that, you also have Terry Crews, who's also one of the best part of the movie. Now, of course, he's paired up for at least for the last quarter of the movie with Mariana's cousin because he wants to get in the game, and it's funny. They're pretty funny together. They bounce off each other pretty nicely, and I like it. The fight scenes, you could tell when you see it. You could tell what I mean by him being so stiff, because he is very, very stiff in his fight scenes. But everyone else does amazing. Which, now that I think about it, I think I might have been a little too harsh with a 6 out of 10. But I can't give it a 7 out of 10 because that means it has to be on the same level as Thelma and Argyle, and it might be, but it's not because of the main character. It's because of the other guys, the other assassins who are given a lot more energy to their roles. I'm not saying Batista doesn't, but I get it. He's supposed to be this guy who can't find love or whatever, right? And he's trying to get out of the game, and he got diagnosed with a terminal illness. But he might arguably be the worst. He is the worst part of the movie, unfortunately. Even the older guy, Reeves, is better. He's funny too. Am I being a little too harsh? Probably a little bit. But this does give me an idea for a future video where I try to rank the wrestlers turned actors. Of course, the main three, that being Batista, John Cena, and The Rock, mainly because it gives me an excuse to watch Fast 5 again, but that is a video coming up in the future. Watch out for that. But besides that, if I get, it's 6.5. All right, that's what I'll give it, a 6.5. It's a good movie, but the main character brings it down quite a bit. Now, of course, can I get why people gave it an 80% on Rotten Tomatoes? Yeah. Terry Crews is a great antagonist. It's pretty funny. It's goofy, especially when it starts getting into the goofy bits. It definitely plays into it. But for the most part, it is not that good. It's all right. It's all right. It's another forgettable action movie, which sucks. Because besides, I think there's only 2 action movies I watched that I actually liked this year. But besides that, the next one, a much, I guess I could say, dark horse. That being Greedy People. That's right. I don't know if you watched them. I don't know if you ever heard of the movie. Makes sense if you didn't. I barely even knew it even existed. But Greedy People. 6.2 on IMDb, 60% on Rotten Tomatoes, 45% on Metacritic, and 48% of Google users like the movie. Now, of course, now I might be the outlier, but in a good way, because the people had it 57 and the critics had it 60. I had it 8 out of 10. A little weird. Maybe I might have overhyped it a little bit, but it makes sense. So, of course, the main plot of the movie is that it's comedy crime, but it gets not dark, but it gets pretty gruesome. The comedy goes away like really quick at the second half of the movie. But anyways, it revolves around Terry Brogan and Will Shelley. Well, of course, Shelley moved in with his wife Paige to a new little island location. And of course, he's a cop, or a ranger, I guess you could say. And Shelley and Terry, let's just say, accidentally unalive someone. The wife of a rich seafood man, I guess you could say. And they stumble upon $1 million. Now, of course, both of them try to keep their mouths shut because it's $1 million in cash, right? You try to not tell people about it. But eventually they get roped into a much more sinister, dark part of the island, and let's just say stuff goes down. And by stuff goes down, I mean stuff goes down. Oh my god, comedy crime. It's oh dude, it gets crazy. It goes from 0 to 100, not in 60 seconds, but in like 320 seconds. I don't know. But the main part is they basically Shelly, let's just say accidentally unalived, like I said, the wife of the seafood giant on the island, right? And they get involved in other stuff. And of course, Terry and Shelly basically say, "Hey, man, we're not gonna tell anyone. We're gonna keep our mouth shut." Oh, you know what Shelly does? He instantly tells his wife, and then it starts getting worse and worse. Now, of course, there are I would say three separate groups of people, as you have Will, Shelly, and Terry Brogan as their own little group. Paige is essentially part of the group, but not really. It's separate, right? And then you have Wallace Chetlow, aka the husband of the deceased wife, and Deborah, who is, let's just say, the mistress of Wallace. And then you have two separate guys as the Colombian and the Irishman, aka considered the two hitmen of the island, where they, split the island in half. If you want something done, but you're on this side, you ask that guy, vice versa. But of course, both of them are having a little dispute, being like, "Hey, I'm here. You can't be taking away my customers, right?" By the end of the day, there's literally a little slit where both their mailboxes are. It's pretty funny. There's also a tiny, little group, as you have the masseuse and his mother, who play a small role, not that big of a role. Now, of course, it goes by little sections as it goes by the groups of people. So, of course, they go. The first group, Will and Terry, go on keeping their mouth shut. Of course, Will doesn't and tells his wife instantly, but that's something for another day. But it turns out that the masseuse actually witnessed the murder of, the wife. Her name is Virginia, by the way. And he was like, "Oh, damn, what the hell?" He tries to run away, right? Which is funny because they interrogate him, and obviously they don't know that he saw it, but he saw it, and he's like, "Oh, man, what the hell?" Obviously because he thinks he's going to kill him, right? Because he's a witness. And that's pretty funny. That's a funny scene. The interrogation scene is pretty cool. But besides that, that's the essential first group. The second group is obviously Wallace and Deborah, as they obviously put $1 million to pay the Colombian to execute the wife, right? Turns out, he ordered the hit. Of course, ordering hits are actually quite common in the movies I picked. It's a little weird, but we'll talk about that later. We will not. But he ordered the Colombian. The Colombian goes, you go check, the woman's dead. And the $1 million is gone. So you still have to pay me, right? Because there's like a fee. But it doesn't matter. So now Wallace is screwed because, his seafood company is in massive debt. So he can't get the money. Even though they clearly said that they have the jewelries in the car, they could sell it to make the money. But they decide to just go try to find the cash anyways. Which is whatever, right? And that's basically the first act, right? And the next one, let's just say Paige asked her husband, Will, to ask Terry to join them for dinner so she could scope out the situation, right? He goes and he basically says, "Oh, he became a cop for the power because he was bullied as a kid. He then found the bully, he whooped his ass, and all that stuff, right? It doesn't matter." And then let's just say they have a dog, right? Yeah, let's just say they used to have a dog. Yeah, that dog got killed, which of course seemed like an accident because it escaped. He accidentally ran her over. Nope, turned out later on in the movie, he killed it on purpose. Why? He's crazy. It's simple as that. He's crazy. Terry's crazy. So, of course, this now forces Paige to be scared for her life, and rightfully so. And he asks the Irishman, the other hitman, to kill Terry, so he pays her the money. And also steals the $1 million that they hid. Very important. So then now there's even more stuff. Now it's another party involved. Now, of course, you also have technically another party, that being Murphy, one of the cops. But she's an outside observer, basically. Not really seeing everything, but she's not involved with it. She knows something's going on, but she doesn't have enough evidence, right? So she's there, but for the most part, not there, right? But besides that, the Irishman attempts to go kill Terry, and he does. Oh, by the way, the Colombian calls the Irish man sloppy. And it makes sense, because let's just say the Irishman fails to kill Terry. And let's just say Terry was messing with someone else's wife, right? But that's important, because that woman, of course, breaks it off with the man and kills the Irishman. They send him down into the ocean, and he's dead. So that's one down. Let me say, what do you mean one down? We'll get to that soon enough. So, of course, the other one picks up with Wallace going to the masseuse, obviously, because he's supposedly... He believes that he's the one that killed his wife and took the money, and obviously because he needs the money or else he'll die. And then they get in a skerfuffle as Deborah Wallace, the masseuse, and his mother is there. Long story short, they kill each other. Yeah, everyone, 3 out of the 4 are dead. The masseuse, the mother, and Wallace. It gets crazy. Like I said, it gets crazy. Now there's 4 people just deceased out of like the possible 8 or something like that. Right? But it doesn't matter. Terry goes full on lunatic, kills Will because they go try to find the money because they locked it in like a little container, right? Turns out that the wife not stole it, but like took the money so they could run away, right? Well, the money isn't there. Terry just straight up kills Will, which is the most craziest thing ever because Will is supposed to be seen as the main character, right? And he just gets murdered. I was like, oh my God, he just killed him. I thought, oh, he's going to get stopped or whatever. He's going to be all happy. And no, he gets murdered. He gets shot in the head. I was like, God damn. Dude gets straight up murdered. I was like, oh boy, he's the main character. You can't do that. So now there's another one gone and that being the main character. Now that obviously shows that no one's safe anymore. But damn, I was like, dude, I was sitting there. I was like, oh my God, they really killed him. He's supposed to have a happy ending. What happened? But anyways, Terry goes crazy, tries to find Paige. Of course, the Colombian's still around. But he's more now playing a passive role instead of trying to get actively involved because he's absorbing everything, right? Terry finds Paige. Doesn't matter because Murphy, obviously, like I said, doesn't have enough evidence. Now has enough evidence and figures out, oh, Terry is gone crazy. I gotta go stop him. And he shoots him, basically taking him out of the equation, which I don't believe he actually killed him, not to my knowledge, which is weird because they're like, oh, we need information from Paige at the end of the movie. Like, oh, you need to tell us or things are going to get bad, right? You guys have Terry. Terry has nothing to lose. He could just straight up snitch on everyone. Doesn't even matter because half the people are dead, right? So now Terry's out of the equation. Now there's only 2 people left. Well, actually 3 people left. Deborah, Paige, and the Colombian, right? Long story short, all of them died. Yeah, I don't know why I was trying to go all through all of them. All of them died. Yeah, at the hospital scene as Paige is recovering, let's just say the Colombian comes in, murders Paige. Like, what? And then he goes in the elevator and then he finds Deborah. Obviously, they don't know each other because they never had an interaction. Yeah, they kill each other. So now no one ends up with the money. What? Like I said, this movie goes crazy at the end. It goes from a comedy, and it's pretty funny, actually. It's a pretty funny movie in the beginning, in the first half. But it gets dark really quick. Like, it's a comedy crime, but I think there might be a little, thriller, as some people might say. There might be a little thriller in here, too. It's crazy. Now, of course, the only happy ending is Murphy, as she's now raising Paige and Will's daughter. But dude, they murder each other. Dude, everyone's dead. Dude, I was like, damn. And, of course, the whole thing is that greedy people, basically. People will do a lot of stuff for money. And, obviously, they did. I mean, all this could have been avoided if, you could technically blame it on a bunch of people. You could blame it. Well, I mean, most of the time it's okay. Yeah, you could blame it on like one person, that being Will, because he responded to the wrong call, and then he accidentally killed Virginia, and then he told his wife about it, even though they said they're going to keep their mouth shut. So okay, you can't blame it on everyone. You could just blame it on Will. He's the guy. You could just blame it on him. But besides that, it's a pretty good movie. I actually don't know how people don't like it. I get it. It might be whiplash for some people, especially if they're expecting a little buddy cop movie, because that's what it looks like, especially when you just look at the pictures, right? Looks like a buddy cop movie, especially the synopsis. Look, I'll just read it word for word. It says, residents of a small island town navigate a murder and the discovery of millions of dollars. A series of increasingly bad decisions upend the once peaceful community. That is nowhere near what the movie is. It's crazy. Like I said, if there's one movie, of course, obviously, since you've been basically spoiled of the whole thing, I still think you should watch it. It's a crazy movie. Very crazy. Very, very crazy. But besides that, now we get to the last movie. And a very important one, as it was one of Pixar's greatest success, I believe, anyways. Now, of course, obviously, you know what it is. It is Inside Out 2. Obviously, beloved by almost everyone. IMDb has a 7.6 out of 10. 73% on Metacritic and 91% on Google users. Now, of course, Rotten Tomatoes, 90% by critics, 95% by the people. Of course, if you did not get a chance to watch the movie, you should probably watch it. Now, of course, I rated it a 8.5 out of 10. Mostly because of the Transformers 1 and the Wild Robot movie, which I ranked number 9. And I don't really believe Inside Out 2 is as good as it, but it's also not that far off. But besides that, everyone knows, I think, the essential plot. Riley goes through puberty, therefore involving new emotions. Was it ennui, envy, embarrassment, and anxiety? Who take over the headquarters, believing that Riley deserves more complex emotions from, of course, the ones that we met in the first movie. Now, of course, the first movie is about, I guess you could say, bad emotions also having a spot in Riley's head, as you can make great memories with, I guess, quote unquote, bad emotions. Now, this one is the same thing, but with memories. Now, of course, I think you have this little crystal of, like, who, I guess, one is, filled with memories, and it basically creates your conscious, I guess you could say. And of course, the main plot of the movie is, like I said, they take over the thing. Riley goes to hockey camp, essentially ditches her friends, and she must learn. Not to say she has to learn, because it's her emotions that pretty much are managing her, but anxiety has to learn, and also Joy has to learn that they need each other. You know, of course, at the end of the movie, they learn that it's not just good memories that create a person; it's also the bad memories, and well, the in betweens. You know, to create a person. Obviously, as we see, anxiety using really messed up memories to try to create a new version of herself. It doesn't end well, but it doesn't matter. It all gets fixed in the end. Riley still maintains her friends, finds new friends, and hopefully, maybe a trilogy will happen. I mean, adulthood definitely probably needs some emotions or something, right? But for the most part, that is essentially the plot. Now, of course, there's a lot of good scenes you could say are in the movie, like the imagination machine. I like that. You know, them trying to think of ways, or at least I guess you could say dreams, but of course, when anxiety takes it over, it basically forces them to draw up scenarios that may or may not happen. Obviously, because it's anxiety, you know, you know how it goes. Of course, the other thing was where we learned emotions aren't always acting in their own emotion, as of course, as many people show on the internet. When Joy snaps, you know, he's like, "What? You know how hard it is to be happy all the time." You know, we get a little, I guess, makes them more human, even though they're emotions. It doesn't really matter. It's a great scene there too. Of course, the brainstorm, I like that. Very nice animation. Of course, embarrassment's redemption arc, as people would say, as he goes from someone who's not really willing to step in and being essentially pushed around to being the one that takes charge and essentially helps the old emotions, you know, I guess, quell the new ones, or especially anxiety. Of course, the pros are an amazing story, pretty funny, great, obviously dynamic. Obviously, from the first movie, you know it's going to be a thing. The new characters, obviously, all of them have a essential role. It's not just, oh, we just have this random guy that just fills up space. No, they all fit for the most part. Cons, just nitpicked at this point. It's a little cringy, but then again, it's teenagers, so obviously, you know, it's gonna happen. It has to happen. Everyone's gone through cringy experiences during teenage years, especially even later. Another one is that maybe ennui and envy, not really envy, but I guess ennui needs a little bit more lines. But at the same time, with like 8 main characters, yeah, it's probably hard to give everyone, you know, a time to shine, especially because it's anxiety and joy's essential journey. But you get the point. Besides that, it's a great movie. You know, it's worth a 90%. You know, it makes sense why they have 90%, 95%. You know, it's a great movie. Of course, I had it 8.5, but it makes total sense why it's a 95. The other ones, not so much. But besides that, one of the best movies of the year. Not a lot of good movies that came out this year, at least to my knowledge. Of course, you got Dune Part 2, which we'll talk about later. But besides that, yeah, that's all 6 movies. Of course, we will be, I guess, essentially reviewing 6 at a time until we finish all of them at the end of the year, but we will rank all of them. Well, not really rank. A little too much energy trying to rank all of them, especially when you have a bunch of 9 out of 10s or 8 out of 10s or the same rankings. Very hard to do that. But for the most part, very good. Very good selection of movies. Some, I guess, surprises like Greedy People. Some also surprises, but bad surprises. The Killer's Game. Weird ones like Oddity. Obviously makes sense, Oddity. Argyle. Very surprising. And Thelma. All pretty good movies. All of them are worth watching for the most part. Killer's Game? Yeah, why not? Killer's Game, I just like the other guys more than Dave Bautista. He's kind of, unfortunately, the worst part of the movie. But what can you do? But besides that, that is the end of the reviews. We'll be getting right into other ones, especially gaming reviews. But besides that, hope you enjoy this video, and I'll catch you in the next one.